So not only did Manchester United lose a football match this weekend, we also lost one of our most informed players, Lisandro Martinez, with what looks like a pretty bad injury, making Ruben Amorim's life at Manchester United just that little bit more difficult. Exactly what he needs right now. To be fair, there are solutions. There are a few different ways that United could try and sort of deal with this problem for the next few months. And of course, that is what we are going to be looking at today. Before we get into it, if you could subscribe, please, that would be amazing. So press subscribe. And then after that, we'll look at some potential Lisandro Martinez solutions. So the first thing that we need to do is look at what Lisandro Martinez has been doing well recently. We won't spend too much time on this because we covered it just a few days ago. But recently, the United 11 has looked something like this. Granted, we have seen rotations and changes, but Lisandro Martinez has been responsible on the left side of defence, at times for moving to a left-back position in possession, but actually further up the pitch being quite an aggressive player, a player that we give the licence to get forward, to join the attack. We know that his left foot provides us with quite a nice balance. He allows us to play down the left-hand side. We know he is incredibly incisive through the lines. His progressive passing is absolutely phenomenal. And even in the final third recently, he's actually been a direct goal threat. He has been key to Manchester United's attacking play. In terms of defensively, he is the one often responsible for trying to connect and join the high press. So when opposition players are dropping behind the United midfield, he is the one responsible for jumping and pressing there. In moments, he's done this really well, but there's also been situations where he has struggled. And in terms of a weakness of his game recently, it has been 1 versus 1 defending out wide, and of course, as usual, dealing with physical duels. So this is what Manchester United need to try and replace, and for me, there's 3 main options. So option number 1 for Manchester United is pretty much a straight swap. A centre-back has come out of the team with injury, let's bring a centre-back into the team. Lenny Yoro on the left-hand side of defence does make a lot of sense. He's played a fair amount of football recently anyway. He has been involved with the squad on a regular basis, as have Harry Maguire and De Ligt. This back 3 makes sense. In terms of the strengths, it allows us to actually get 3 tall, strong, physical profiles in the back line. This should mean that our box defending would be drastically improved because there's a lot of height in there. There's some good reading of the play. You would imagine that United would be a little bit stronger when it comes to dealing with balls into the box from both sides of the pitch. This is a positive that we would get here. The other thing that Lenny Yoro would bring to this back 3 is a bit of athleticism, which is really lacking at times. Maguire and De Ligt are both good players in their own right, but they are not the quickest. And, you know, De Ligt's actually fairly quick to be fair, but they're certainly not the most agile. They don't turn particularly well. Lenny Yoro does offer us something a little bit different in that department. He is a player that could provide something for us there. In terms of on the ball, unfortunately, he is nowhere near the level of Lisandro Martinez. He's not a bad ball player, but he's not elite like Lisandro Martinez is. How would it work? Does this work at all, really? Realistically, I think Lenny Yoro would still be comfortable on the ball. You know, if we do this thing where the middle centre-back goes into midfield and we split like this, I'm not a massive fan of this, but you know, it could work. This puts Lenny Yoro in a pretty standard centre-back position. He is more than capable of playing there, as is De Ligt on the right-hand side. Although we do get a bit of a problem here, that the team suddenly looks very right-footed, particularly down the left-hand side of the pitch, which potentially makes us a little bit predictable. Now, the signing of Dorgu coming into the team could help us here. This might be one of the things which makes, you know, losing Lisandro Martinez just at least a little bit more bearable if Dorgu can settle quickly and provide us with a balance. If not, United will have an issue where we become very right-footed. I think Yoro's long passing potentially from this side of the pitch could be quite useful, especially if we were to get a more attacking profile at right wing back. Perhaps Ahmad or someone could play there. I do think Yoro would have good long switches. I think he has shown in moments that he can be progressive through the lines, but this probably wouldn't be my number 1 solution, although it is an option. Now, another option for Manchester United is actually this man here, Luke Shaw. Recently back in training, he is probably most suited to this position out of every position in the system. These days, you know, he's injury prone, he doesn't perhaps have the legs to play as a wing-back. On the left side of the fence, we've actually seen him be very good in this role before. He's played there for England, he's played there for Manchester United. When Lisandro Martinez had the injury problems a couple of years ago, he was the solution at left centre-back, and he actually played really well. I think this system suits him down to a T. He's gives us that left-footed profile in the first phase. He can play out from the back, which is crucial. In terms of a little bit higher up the pitch, he is someone who is very progressive. He can carry the ball, he can be aggressive. And if we're thinking about, you know, Lisandro Martinez's recent contributions in the final third, Shaw can definitely offer us that from this sort of position here. His delivery into the box is up there on his day with some of the best in the world, particularly from the left-hand side. Got a dangerous ball into the box. He could certainly offer something for United. Defensively, a bit better 1v1 than what Lisandro Martinez is, although would he perhaps struggle with pressing into midfield? Possibly, that would be an area of concern. In terms of his back post defending, he's not particularly strong here, but he's also not particularly weak. So Luke Shaw, in an ideal world, is actually, literally, on paper, perfect, really, to come in and replace Lisandro Martinez and bring a similar skill set. There's just one problem. He's always injured. So, in an ideal world, this is the perfect solution. But unfortunately, I don't really think we live in an ideal world. So far, we've seen Lenny Yoro could definitely play the role, but perhaps doesn't give us enough on the ball to really make Manchester United progressive. And Luke Shaw would be perfect, but he's always injured. Leaves us with a slight lack of options, but there is one player that could be moved into centre-back on either side of defence, which might solve some of our problems. And for me, that is actually Mazraoui. Now, in recent weeks, he has been playing as a wing-back, and I just don't feel this position suits him at all. He's not a player with enough power in his carrying. He really relies on close combination work. He can't play as a 1v1 player on the ball. It's not really his game. He needs players nearby. So it's not really been working, so it wouldn't be a huge loss to lose him from this wing-back position. And you could move him into the back three. Now, you could go for the natural switch of putting him on the left-hand side. He could come straight into this position, and what you're going to get here is someone that can progress the ball. His weak foot isn't too bad. He is pretty comfortable on his left foot. He is someone that can be progressive with the ball. He can move United forward in terms of being incisive. Yeah, he offers that. He is really good with his progressive passing. I think particularly from this deeper position, he gets a little bit more time. So he can get his head up and look for passes. And I think that's when you see his best progressive traits. He's also a player, like I said, that can carry into midfield. He's one of the best inverted fullbacks in the world. Potentially he could do the same from centre-back, moving into this area. He has brilliant quick feet. You know, the footwork is good to move through these positions. He operates extremely well in tight spaces. So it could work. My question would be, really, as he got further forward from this side, you look at that trio and creating chances and really providing a massive attacking threat, and it looks a little bit questionable. It doesn't scream attacking threat to me. The other concern I would have is actually defensively, when we're trying to sometimes be a bit more aggressive in our block. In recent weeks, we have seen situations where United have switched to more of a 4-4-2. This orientation of personnel doesn't really work right. So let's quickly move someone into the team. Let's bring Kobbie Mainoo into the side. If United are trying to switch to a 4-4-2 with this 11, it doesn't quite work. Because Mazraoui realistically wants to play as a fullback, so he goes out here. So far it's fine. But then we're asking Ahmad to play as a right back, which doesn't really work. So you could argue we could switch it, right? Ahmad could go higher on the side of the 4-4-2. Dalot can drop deeper to left back. That works. But then Mazraoui is centre back and De Ligt's right back. So I don't think this quite works either, unless United persist with the back five out of possession shape, which for me is a little bit passive. So the other option is actually to move De Ligt to the left-hand side and bring Mazraoui to the right. Or, of course, you could now bring Yoro into the left-hand side and just change the way that Manchester United are approaching things. This allows us to get Ahmad at wing-back, which I think is important. His aggressive tendencies on the ball, I think, are just key to United. And in terms of solving that defensive problem, when we now try and switch to more of the 4-4-2 off the ball, Mazraoui moves to the right. Perfect. Maguire and De Ligt in the middle, or again, it could be Yoro for either of these two. Again, that's good. That's ideal. They're good centre-backs for the back four. And Dalot can shift to the left-hand side, which, again, works. Or this could be Dorgu. I quite like this as a solution. Garnacho drops into the left-hand side, and United can continue with the 4-4-2 that we have seen in recent matches. In terms of on the ball, it does, of course, affect things, because we're going from Lisandro Martinez to De Ligt on the left-hand side. And, you know, not to be overly critical of De Ligt, but he's not Lisandro Martinez on the ball. He's not as progressive. He's not as agile. He doesn't twist and turn with the ball. And he's certainly not creative in the final third. So Ruben Amorims would probably be looking for some sort of balance change. Perhaps at that point, Dorgu does need to come into the team to give us a bit more threat down the outside of the pitch. Again, bringing that left-footed profile. But I think really what we would be looking for is flipping the balance. So rather than Lisandro Martinez on the left, stepping forward all the time, you would probably be looking for Mazraoui on the right-hand side to try and do it instead. And to be fair, I could see a world where that works. I can imagine Dorgu and Garnacho having some decent rotations down the left of the pitch, because I think it suits both of them. Dorgu likes to come inside, but also go wide. Garnacho can do both as well. So I think that works. And I think we would be looking for Mazraoui to almost mirror what we were previously doing on the left with Licha. Can we now do it with Mazraoui on the right-hand side? Possibly. Particularly if Mainu is going to play in this right 10 position now, in this tactical switch. He's not a player who will always occupy this space. He will drift inside in moments. So perhaps that could open up that room for Mazraoui to move further forward. I think in an ideal world, this is probably the most realistic solution. Either De Ligt or Yoro playing on the left-hand side, De Ligt or Maguire in the middle, and then for me, Mazraoui on the right-hand side of the back three. I think it gets us Ahmad back at wing-back, which is just crucial to me. I think we have to do this. We have to have more wide threat. I think we get the best out of Ahmad in this shape. I think we get the best out of Mazraoui. Also, potentially Dorgu on the left-hand side. Arguably even Kobbie Mainoo as well, depending on whereabouts you play him. I think this is probably the most realistic solution. So in terms of an ideal world, you would want Shaw, but I think it's unlikely. So instead we go to Mazraoui on the right-hand side of the fence, Maguire or De Ligt in the middle, De Ligt or Yoro on the left. It's not perfect, it's not ideal. We are, of course, going to struggle without Lisandro Martinez because he's, for me, the best ball-playing centre-back in the world. So he's not an easy player to replace, but Ruben Amorims does have a few options. There are a few players that can play at centre-back, probably 4 or 5 different things you could look at. We've even got some youth players you could use as well. So it's not ideal, but I think Amorim hopefully will be able to cope. It's going to be a test of how he adjusts, and with this season in the league in particular almost being a write-off, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how Amorim approaches this challenge, how he adapts tactically, how he evolves. So it'll be interesting to see Amorim over the next few weeks, how he adjusts to this problem. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, but United do have some solutions in my opinion. Now I want to hear your opinion in the comments down below. Who would you go for in the back three to replace Lisandro Martinez? It's difficult to do a like-for-like swap, so you have to get a little bit creative. Let me know, though, what you would do in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for this video. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.